Hi loved ones, how are you doing today? I'm sitting in my backyard here on this sunny fall day, excited to talk to you about something that I think is really important for those of you who are going to start your own, planning to start your own, intend to start your own healing businesses, or who are already in the process. And just so you know, I am kind of next to the road here, so you might hear some car noises. Hopefully they don't distract you too much. Also, it's my kitty. That's right. Okay, so with that, today I'm going to talk to you about why it's so important to take this one really big first step in order to actually get to the place where you're starting your own business that's spiritually based or wellness based. And it's the first step in order to actually getting to a place where you're receiving financial feedback, receiving financial flow for the work that you're doing. This is a really, really important first step, and this step is starting your own blog. And there's a few key reasons why this step is so important. In some of my clients, I see that they have taken this step because they have this calling to share their own message, and they naturally are from their own inner guidance or their angels. They naturally get that feedback. Okay, I want to start my own blog. I think it's a good first step. However, they can give up after a little while if they don't see the results that they want from the blog, and we're going to talk about that in this video too. But first we're going to start with the main reasons why starting your own blog is so important. So I started my own blog, my first blog, back in 2010, I think. It was called Samsara. And it was a blog that was really just environmental. I talked about environmental issues that were going on. I talked about, the oil sands. I talked about major environmental catastrophes that were happening. I talked about my love for animals, stuff like that. And what this did, when I started it, I was actually in university at the time. I wasn't even really planning on, I hadn't foreseen myself starting the business that I'm in today, coaching business. It was just for the love of sharing and expressing, and it felt like I really had this information that I wanted to get out there. But what that helped me do was develop my own voice. I learned what I liked to talk about. After about, maybe it was 6 months of doing this blog, I realized that I had a tendency on the blog to lean towards negativity. I had a tendency towards the doom and gloom, talking about all the bad environmental stuff that was happening and getting in a place of, this is really bad, guys, the people that are doing this are bad, etc., etc. And I just started to feel, this was around the time where I was really having a deeper spiritual awakening. I was meditating, I was starting to wake up, and I realized, okay, what's really going to help this environmental stuff that's happening. I'm sorry if you can hear that. That's like a plane somewhere. It could be quite loud on the video. I'm not sure. But I realized that what was going to help was focusing on what I wanted to create rather than focusing on what I didn't want to create. So I started to find my own voice, and I started to talk about some more spiritual principles that I felt like were really, really key in order to see, put into practice so that I could see the changes that I wanted to see. So that's why starting a blog, one of the reasons is so important, is you find your voice. You get to know what you like to talk about, what you don't like to talk about. I started talking about the environment. I started talking about, grilled cheese sandwiches. Then I started to talk about all this different stuff, eventually sort of leading me to this place where I know what I like to talk about. I find writing quite easy now. I can write a blog post in 10 minutes, and it just blah, 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 and it comes out. But that didn't happen overnight. That happened with, the process of starting and finding my own voice. The second reason why starting your own blog is so important is you get used to putting your message out there. A lot of us can have this fear that we don't want to put ourselves out there, because what we're talking about, most of us, is maybe a little more new age. They're new concepts. Some of us have past life memories or maybe they're not conscious memories, but they're subconscious memories that we've been burned for our practice with herbalism or healing and the healing arts. All the witch burnings were very real things, and really they were just, healers, midwives, herbalists, crystal healers, energy healers, women that were connecting with the divine and knew that they didn't need a priest in order to connect with God. Those were the witches, and many of us, I'm a big believer in past lives, so many of us have had these lives where we've lived, and now we have this fear. We carry this fear that if we speak our truth, if we put it out there, this really healing information, this message, that our lives are actually at risk, or our physical safety is at risk, is at stake. And so those are some fears that we really need to work towards, and we just need to constantly remind ourselves, this is not that lifetime, and this is a very thank you to our sisters that have come before us who have done a lot of work in order to make this okay, that we can talk about this in the open. And in many places of the world, we're still very much fighting that battle, so my heart goes out to all those women who still don't feel like they can share their truth and share their messages. But for those of us watching, we are now in this society where it's totally okay. So breathe into those fears, but it's now the time to get used to putting your message out there again, and realizing that you're safe to do so, and actually that people really want to hear your message, and it feels really, really good. So get used to, when you're writing that blog and you're putting it on Facebook and you're putting it in your social media channels, you're just getting used to putting your message out there and flexing that muscle that's going to be more comfortable in that more public sphere. Okay, so cutting back to the example of my clients that I talked about at the start, where some of my clients, I see they've started these blogs, and they're really good. I really like them. They're in their beginning stages. They're nothing like super fancy, but they're good, and they've started to blog. But I've noticed that after it might be 3 blogs or 10 blogs, they kind of give up and they stop writing. And I want to give you this metaphor because they're not seeing the results, because basically they're starting this blog and they're blogging, but they think, okay, I want people to really be commenting on the blogs. I want people to seek my expertise out so I can work with them. I have like a nutritionist in mind, a client of mine, a budding coach, a woman that wants to be just an intuitive coach. So these are a couple of my clients that are coming to mind, and they've put these blogs out there, but they're not really receiving what they want from them. So they sort of have started to like almost give up on them a little bit, and like, oh, this isn't working, what should I do? And to that, I have this metaphor for you. It's really I'm really passionate about this subject. We cannot be giving up after step A. There's 26 letters in the alphabet, people. If you give up after step A, how are you going to spell anything? Love you. Okay, so the metaphor is, if you want to run a marathon, you want to run, I don't know what marathon, I don't run marathons, but say you want to run half a marathon, what is that? I don't know. It's it's like a decent amount of kilometers, miles in there. But you don't really run, you've never really run, but you have this goal to run this marathon. And so you take the first step and you go out and you run around the block a couple times, your house. Pretty small distance, but that's where you start. And you do that a few times. And then you go to you're going to decide, okay, I'm going to try to run this whole half marathon distance today. I ran around the block a few times, so I got this, And you start and you fucking fall over after a mile, and you're like, this is impossible. This isn't for me. I can't do this. I give up. And then you give up on your goal. Does that really make sense to you? No. If you only practiced, you ran around the block a few times, come on, right? So that was the first step, though. That was the first step, was running around the block a few times. But what you probably should have been doing on, step 2, step 3, step 4, maybe you get the right running shoes. That's important, so you can have the support in your legs. Maybe you're going to develop a structure or a regimen where you're going to run this amount one day, and then the next day you're going to amp it up by, another half mile or whatever it is. You're going to feed yourself with the right nutrition. You're going to get the right protein for your body. You're going to get the right nutrients for your body. You're going to eat with the right times a day. Maybe you're going to hire a coach, or you're going to work with a trainer who's going to train you. And eventually, with all of these steps, you're going to get to the place where you're going to be able to run that marathon. Okay, let's apply this to business. If you want to be in business and you want to be receiving income for your coaching work, for your teaching work, for your healing work, whatever it is, the step 1, running around the block a few times, is the blog. That is the first step, and starting to write those blogs. But there's a lot more involved in terms of starting a business that's actually going to bring in what you wanted to bring in, the clients, the revenue, the connection, the purpose kind of energy, etc., etc. There's a lot of steps. But the first step is starting that blog. So don't give up when you've just run around the block a few times. That's the first step, and it's so amazing. If you're wondering what the next steps are, we're going to talk about that in future videos for sure, but we just want to focus on the first step. So yeah, we want to run around the block a few times, but keep watching these videos with me, and we're gonna talk about what those different steps are. But one thing at a time is really important. Okay, and there's a couple more reasons why. Sorry, I'm going on forever, but like I just am really passionate about starting your own blog, and so I have a couple more points for you. So you might even want to be taking notes at this point. The other reason, okay, so we're talking about, we're actually building up our steps. We're building up what we want to do in order to start that business that's actually going to feed us, you know, in terms of our purpose, in terms of our connections, in terms of our finances, etc., etc. We want to actually do this. We want to be healers and not just have it on the side as our hobbies. So when you have your own blog, when you're blogging or you're making videos or you're putting photography on that blog and you're putting out there, what you're doing is you're giving people free content. You're giving people free value. What happens when you give people free content, not just once, but regularly, maybe once, even twice a week, you're giving free content to people. And you're doing it with a specific goal in mind. You're talking about, you know, you're talking about something that has cohesion to it, you know, whether that's how to heal, how to change your diet in order to get more energy, things like this. When someone's watching your video, I'm going to use myself as an example, okay? So I'm putting out these videos. I put them out, you know, however often, once a week, sometimes twice a week. I put out blog posts. I put out little Facebook posts. I put Instagram. But let's use my videos as an example. So I'm talking to women who are interested in sharing their message in a bigger way. They want to start their own healing businesses, probably you watching, right? And if you're watching, you're getting value from this. You're like, okay, this is actually really helpful to me. You're probably going to be thinking, okay, if this is what I'm getting just from this free video with Beth, then what could I get? What could I receive if I actually worked one-on-one with in a coaching call with her and I actually talked to her individually? Or what would I receive if I did a workshop with her or even a course, an online course with her, okay? So by giving you this free content, I'm showing you the ways that I can help you, the ways that I'm knowledgeable, the ways that I can help you, and I'm also giving you my energy, my vibration, so you can see if it's a fit. So when you're blogging and you're putting out your videos, you're talking to potential clients and you are connecting with them and saying, here's what I got. And they might be watching and saying, wow, she can help me so much by just this 5-minute video that I'm watching. I wonder what it'd be like if I worked with her in a session. And say you have another video that next week. And at the end of the video, you say, you know, I'm also available for sessions. You can book one-on-one sessions with me. And slowly, that's how we build a business out of this. The free content is super important. So that's why starting your own blog is super, super important, because you're getting this free content out there so people can get to know you. They can get to know that you can actually help them. You have this confidence and you have this energy, this, you know, you're you, and you can help them. So they're going to connect to that. And finally, this is my last tip, and I'm probably might be like a couple minutes late for a session that I'm about to pop onto. I can't see the time on my phone. Sorry, Denise, if I am late. That's my client I'm about to hop on the phone with. The last point is, we've already kind of talked about this. We already kind of just talked about this, but it builds trust and expertise. So if you're blogging or you're vlogging and you're putting this stuff out there, even if you're not yet working with clients, even if you've never worked with a client before, but you're still putting it out there, you build this level of expertise, because not a lot of people, honestly, in the percentage-wise and the grand scheme of things, not a lot of people are blogging or are sharing free content online. It might seem like there are, but actually there's not very many in terms of like percentages-wise of like how many people are on the earth and how many people are actually, you know, teaching and putting this stuff out there. So you automatically develop a level of expertise with somebody. If you have your own blog, you're talking about nutrition, or you're talking about yoga, you're putting out these free videos, you're developing this sense that you have expertise in this area. You don't have to be like like have your master's in this and, you know, a total expert, but you probably know a little bit more than they do. You've probably studied for a little bit longer. You've probably maybe even meditated for a little bit longer. We all have this intrinsic knowledge within us, but you might have a focused study in a certain area that they want to learn about, that they want to know about. So you're, by sharing that with them where they can actually receive it, you're building yourself up as an expert. And that's going to build you a tribe, that's going to build you clients. So I got to hop off. I got to get to a session that I have with a client. So I really hope this video served you. Please comment below if you have any questions. I would recommend, the last point I'll make, I would recommend using Squarespace to start your blog, or blogger.com, which is Google's interface. So check those out for you. This video won't be really talking about how to actually start your own blog. It's why to start your own blog. I'll connect with you in a later video to help you, or maybe even a blog post or tutorial, help you actually get the technical aspects of it. It's really not that hard. You can ask a friend who maybe already has a blog, or you can do a tutorial online. I tell myself everything on the computer. Don't worry about it. It's actually easier than it seems if you got the commitment. But yeah, I'll leave you with that. Squarespace, Blogger, check those interfaces out if you're feeling this. You don't have a blog and you're like, damn, I gotta get on that. Okay, love you girls. Much love. Gotta hop off. Bye.